Continuing from the previous episode 155. Fourier, come out for this old man. Hu-Du was also very carefree, obviously he was still a long way from the door, and then he shouted. Haha. Who am I to be yelling at the door of the person in charge, so it's Hu-Du, you old man. A haggard-faced middle-aged man also came out of the door, and said to Hu-Du. There was a hint of sarcasm in the voice. Xinyan 81 Zhang Weian Wang U. Kai 8.1 ZS. Koam. The middle-aged man also knew that Hu-Du and their general manager were brothers from the same sect. Get out of the way. Hu-Du apparently ignored the ridicule of the middle-aged man, and said to the person blocking the road. Oh, why did you come back at the end this time, the old man? All the people we brought in have already completed the test yesterday, so your group is the only one left. The haggard-faced middle-aged man said. The middle-aged man who blocked the way was Shen Yu, and he was also a messenger who was in charge of fetching other places on the Xuanling continent, but there was some friction with Hu-Du during the fetching process before. Being taught by Hu-Du and thus losing face, he confronted Hu-Du everywhere. After all, Hu-Du was a peak powerhouse of the 5-star Do Emperor, and his Shen Yu was only in the middle stage of the 5-star Do Emperor, so he was one head shorter than Hu-Du. It doesn't hurt to stand and talk. Hu-Du is also a person with vicious eyes. Seeing Shen Yu so plain, after thinking about it, the person in charge will definitely not let Shen Yu know about the disappearance. He calmed down and replied calmly. On the edge of the Xuanling continent, some of the places are just backcountry. What kind of talented people can come out? It seems that this time you are running for nothing. Shen Yu also said with a smile. Shen Yu's words just fell, when he saw the grudges of the 9 people behind the old Hu-Du suddenly exuding, and then he shook his head. But the strongest is only the peak of the Samsung Do Di. Such a strength is not even a third-class talent. If you can't produce someone with extraordinary talent, you won't have to worry about it. Since things are done, let's go. Hu-Du also turned to look at the 9 people behind him, and then said. Old Hu-Du, the person in charge is too busy right now, so he might not be able to see you. Shen Yu also frowned. Do you still want to suffer from flesh and blood? Hu-Du was too lazy to pay attention to this Shen Yu, and his terrifying fighting spirit was exuding. You. Hearing the mention of the past, Shen Yu's face also showed a trace of displeasure, apparently because he was afraid of this Hu-Du. Let's see. After speaking, he also left the door, and then he didn't forget to curse a few words before leaving. Ha ha ha, I knew it was you, Hu. The doorway that was blocked by Shen Yu suddenly shook violently, and then everyone saw a middle-aged man in a robe appearing out of thin air. After all, no one will do this except you at my door. After the middle-aged man appeared, he put one hand on Hu-Du's shoulder, and then slowly smiled at Hu-Du. Obviously, the relationship between the two is also very good, and then the huge grudge on Hu-Du was slowly withdrawn from his body. Tear space? 6-star Do Di strong? Xiao Yan also exclaimed when he saw this. After all, in this duty continent, in order to tear apart the space, apart from using some very rare divine weapons, it is only possible to achieve it with strength. Looking at this high-spirited middle-aged man, there seems to be no other fluctuations in his body, so Xiao Yan is absolutely certain that this person in front of him is a genuine 6-star Do Emperor powerhouse. You and Shen Yu really do this every time. The middle-aged man also laughed. This is our chief executive here, Wu Zhang. Mo Chen also hurriedly introduced to everyone. Everyone hears the words and greets them with respect. It's good to be back. Is the road going well? Wu Zhang also asked. It's still like that, it's just that it took a little too long to come and go. Hu-Du also responded with a smile. I told you not to go anywhere, but you didn't listen. Wu Zhang also shook his head and said, Isn't Yu there? I just happened to drop by to see him. After all, we parted back then, but we haven't been together for a long time. Hu-Du also looked at Yueru and said, Yu seems to have another daughter, and she's not too young. I don't know what's going on now. Wu Zhang also looked at the sky and said, Nuo, isn't that right? Hu-Du pointed slightly, pointing to where Yueru was. This breath. Wu Zhang also frowned and sensed the breath on Yueru's body. The younger generation has seen Uncle Wu, and has long heard of his father's 2 life-threatening friends, Uncle Hu and Uncle Wu. Yueru also spoke wisely to Wu Zhang. Hey, it turns out that you are the daughter of Yu. No wonder I said the aura on your body is a little familiar. Wu Zhang said with a smile. Is your father all right? I heard that he was attacked by monsters before, but his strength was not moving forward. Wu Zhang said, I went to Qingcheng under his control. His injury is also healed, and his current strength is also in the late stage of the 5-star Do Di. Hu Du smiled. That's good. The three of us parted ways that day, but we haven't seen each other for many years. When I'm done working here, I'll find him to drink him for 3 days and 3 nights. Wu Zhang also smiled bitterly. Yueru also responded with a smile. Everyone looked at Yueru, but they didn't expect that this seemingly small Yu family had something to do with these two. Don't look at me, these are my father's affairs, and he seldom tells me. Seemingly aware of Xiao Yan's surprised eyes, Yu Ru also tried her best to explain it for fear of being misunderstood. Hearing that, Xiao Yan was also linked to dumbfounded www.novelmtl.com and then looked at Hu Du and Wu Zhang. Come in and talk about something. After a brief exchange between the two, Wu Zhang also found that Hu Du's expression was not very good, and it was obvious that there was something important, and said, Yeah, Hu Du replied, Mo Chen, take them down to test. Then report the results to me. This group of people seems to have good seedlings. Wu Zhang also glanced at the 9 people in front of him, and then said to Mo Chen. Everyone was swept away by Wu Yang's seemingly simple gaze, but their bodies were slightly shocked, as if they had been probed completely. Yes, Mo Chen also respectfully said. Follow me, everyone, Mo Chen also said to Zhu Ren. Hearing that, the 9 people also followed Mo Chen away and went to the testing place. As for the missing persons, it is obviously not something they can worry about. What did the missing person say? Hu Du also said straight to the point when he saw everyone leaving and only himself and Wu Zhang were left in the house. The missing people this time seems a bit strange. According to the people below, the number of people who are in charge of receiving and guiding in our base is all in full. At the same time, they also saw them get off the ferry. And we have people here who are in charge of patrolling the whole process. From the ferry boat to the test square, it's really strange that they just disappeared out of thin air. Ask for recommendation collection, end of this chapter, continuing from the previous episode 156. How so? Did someone play tricks in secret? Hu Du also asked. No, I have put all the suspects in this stronghold under house arrest, but I haven't asked why. I suspect that this is most likely a conspiracy. Wu Zhang also changed his smile and said solemnly. After all, he manages this stronghold. This stronghold serves as the destination for receiving messengers, and is responsible for registering and testing new disciples. This sudden disappearance of 61 people, because of Wu Yang's calm personality, can't help but feel very difficult. After all, although he is not afraid of the families behind the missing disciples, these newcomers have disappeared from the site he managed. Even it is not easy to explain to the sect, let alone the families behind these missing newcomers. This made Wu Zhang anxious. When Hu Du heard the words, he was also extremely worried. After all, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Moreover, if this matter is not resolved and the people above know it, then the friend of his life and death will be in trouble. At this time, Hu Du also knew why he wanted to suppress this matter. Otherwise, once it became a big issue, it would not be good for anyone, but the top priority now is how to solve it. Have you searched for this base carefully? Ferry to the square, including the residences of those missing? Hu Du also rolled his eyes, thinking of a solution. I've searched for them. I personally went to check their residences and found nothing unusual. Wu Zhang also said. Hearing this, Hu Du also frowned. If it is said that the strength of his brother, the 6-star Do Di, has not been found abnormal, then this matter is very strange. But you said that the road from the ferry to the test square has not been inspected. After all, there are soldiers patrolling everywhere, and their quality is obvious to all, so there is no inspection. Wu Zhang also seemed to remember something, then said, Yeah, Hu Du, who was originally worried after hearing this, also had his eyes lit up. Go there and see, you can't let go of any place. Hu Du also said, You arrived after a long journey, so let's take a break and talk about it later. Wu Zhang also said with concern. Go. After Hu Du finished speaking, he took the lead and walked out. Wu Zhang was also quite moved when he saw Hu Du, who was acting resolutely, because he also knew that so many people were missing. Therefore, Hu Du's hurried actions on this trip are undoubtedly to help himself. I hope the two boys from the Zhang family are all right, otherwise it will be difficult for me to communicate with each other. After thinking about this, Wu Zhang also followed, and the two walked towards the path outside the square. On the path from the ferry to the test plaza, it looked the same as usual, but under that path, it was a different scene. 1,000 meters below the path, there is another look. Thousands of meters below the path, in a dark stone room, there is a cold pool in the center of the stone room, and there are many black figures standing beside the cold pool. Looking at this place carefully, the cold pond is not big, only about a zhang in diameter, the water is dark black, and it looks very deep. A black figure stood by the pool, looked at the water quietly, and suddenly asked, "How are things going?" "It's almost there. All 59 humans are asleep, as long as the time comes to throw them into the pool." A weaker figure stood up and said, "Then there are 2 more?" The figure standing in the pool clearly said angrily, "There are still 2 people who were caught, and they escaped." The weaker figure also whispered, "Trash." After saying that, the figure standing by the pool opened his mouth wide, and the weak figure who just answered was directly swallowed by it. After it was swallowed, there were no traces left, but the aura on the figure by the pool now grew a little bit stronger, making it look extraordinarily eerie and gloomy. "Search for me, otherwise he will end." After speaking, many figures under Chixia also moved. Selection of disciples, this time, you will definitely lose more than you gain. Woo-hoo-hoo, he muttered to himself while looking at the deep pool water. Xinya 81 Zhang Wian Wang U. Kai 8.1 ZS. Koem, there are too many roads in this passage, extending in all directions. I saw 2 figures running fast in a tunnel, as if they were avoiding something. One of the tall figures shouted loudly, and the wooden sword in his hand suddenly burst out with a powerful blue light, slashing down with a sword in the sky. Immediately, the powerful sword energy instantly hit the wall of the passage, and a loud noise came, and the passage was also blocked by its fragments, but the fragments splashed several feet high. Immediately afterwards, many figures were turned into countless black smoke by this terrifying sword, but the black gas also slowly emerged from the inside of the passage, and then condensed a black figure that was exactly the same as the original. "Brother, what is this?" A protected figure also said. "Shush. Don't talk. I feel that these things are not human. Their aura is a little eerie." The figure who had just split the sword energy also said, "It's strange to say that they came here to test, and after getting off the ferry, they were walking to the square when they suddenly fainted and woke up in this dark passage. Thanks to their strong skills, they were not caught by those people, so they escaped as soon as they woke up. And this channel seems to be slowly swallowing their do qi, so do qi can't be used too much." After the tall figure slashed out with a sword, he bit his right index finger, and threw his blood essence with terrifying power behind them viciously, and immediately pulled up his younger brother, who was weaker than himself, and started walking. At this time, I don't care if the source is damaged, otherwise if they are caught. I saw that blood essence suddenly turned into a blue dragon, and instantly poured into the passage behind them. UU reading www. Yukanshu.com. As soon as Kanglong appeared in the passage, his power suddenly exploded, and the countless black smoke chasing after him also turned into thin strands and disappeared into the air. However, the entire passageway shook violently. Feeling this vibration, the figure by the pool also made some strange noises. But just when he was puzzled, a black beam of light shot out from the bottom of the pool next to him, breaking through the suppression of the pool water and rushing into the midair of the stone chamber. But as soon as the black beam of light rushed out of the bottom of the pool, it immediately gathered into a dazzling and even weirder black beam from all directions, and instantly forced the black beam of light back down. "It's still early, don't worry," the figure standing by the pool also said greedily. The tall figure pulled the weak younger brother forward continuously. I saw that his younger brother was surprised, and his mouth kept screaming. And the tall figure followed the voice of his younger brother, and when he saw the 2 figures in front, his expression changed greatly, and he shouted to his younger brother, "Come on. Go back and tell Mr. Wu that this trial cannot start." After speaking, he pushed it out, and then blocked the passage. Then one person took over the 2 people in front of him with 2 rays of light, one black and one white, and the 2 rays of light swept away wildly, slashing the tall figure. At this time, the man next to Hanshi took off his disguise, and it turned into a black gas, and then formed a black figure, very gloomy, like a ghost. Ask for a monthly pass for a recommendation. End of this chapter. Continuing from the previous episode 157. The eldest brother of the two who escaped in the passage is named Zhang Yu, and the younger brother is named Zhang Yuan. The two are brothers and have some connections with Wu Zhang. They came here this time without telling their family. Wu Zhang is naturally worried about their safety. Zhang Yu was quite satisfied when he saw his younger brother go far away, and then turned his head to see the two figures in front of him, black and white, like ghosts. His face changed slightly. The enemy in front of him used to be, but he has never dealt with it, and he does not remember that his family has provoked an enemy of this level. After a brief thought to no avail, Zhang Yu also acted decisively, because he knew that with his current strength and in this strange space, he could not beat any of the two in front of him. And they had just woken up from a coma, and they found that besides them, many figures were also caught here. Although I don't know who these are and what they are doing, there is no doubt about it. There must have been a conspiracy to it. So he was attacked by two black and white figures in the short crotch, and then he ran away in the opposite direction of his brother's escape. Damn, who are these people? Extraterritorial evil race? But why do I feel that their breath is not like that alien evil race? The breath is gloomy and weird. Zhang Yu also wondered. Chase. One person. They must not be allowed to escape, otherwise you will know the end. The black figure said to the white figure. I know, it's really long-winded. After speaking, the white figure's speed skyrocketed, chasing towards the place where Zhang Yuan escaped, and at that speed, a trace of strange and gloomy gas also remained. Let's see where you are fleeing now. The black figure was chasing after Zhang Yu's escape. It's here, Hu Du also said to Wu Zhang. Then, regardless of Wu Zhang, he directly and carefully probed the land. 100 years, 200 meters, 700 meters. This was already Hu Du's limit, but he still didn't find anything unusual, so he had no choice but to do it. Haven't you checked this place? Hu Du also said depressedly, how can such a thing be sloppy? If one accidentally provokes the above to blame, the consequences are very serious. It is said that there have been problems here before, but the number of people is within the controllable range, so it was suppressed by the high-level force. Wu Zhang also said slowly. How come? It's all about life. Hu Du was obviously angry and said angrily. Hey, old Hu, listen to me. This stronghold I'm in charge of has only had this kind of thing happen in recent years, but every time the number of people missing is only within 10, so the top management didn't pay too much attention. It's just this, I don't know why so many people disappeared at one time. Wu Zhang also said in a humming tone. As you know, this is not our Xuanxian sect after all. It's just a small sect site, so we just borrow it. It's not easy to dig 3 feet to investigate these sites, otherwise. Wu Zhang was also there. Degree said. This. Hu Du's originally angry eyes also became blurred. His friend of life and death said it so clearly, he didn't know where he was. What Wu Zhang means is that this is not their own territory, they just borrowed the entrance of the local sect for testing and selection, and he has checked all the places that can be explored. Although there are some places that are suspicious, they are not authorized to enter. Just like the piece of land under their feet, this is the cultivation square of other sects, and it is impossible to dig 3 feet into the ground to investigate. This is the territory of that sect? Hu Du also whispered. Obviously Wu Zhang also knew that there might be some problems with this sect. This is. Wu Zhang also said in a low voice. Hey, what are you doing? A little boy with a milky voice also watched Wu Zhang and Hu Du go back and forth on this path, and couldn't help but ask. It's nothing, we're taking a walk. Old Hu, do you think so? Wu Zhang also patted Hu Du on the shoulder. Yes. Hu Du also laughed, and then the two walked away slowly. This person is the only son of this sect. Wu Zhang also said. Well, why is this child's aura a bit weird? Hu Du pondered. Have you found it too? I sensed it long ago, but I just don't know what it is. Wu Zhang also said. Seeing what Hu Du was trying to say, Wu Zhang also gestured shyly, then attached to his ear and said something. In the square, a group of people also walked slowly with Mo Chen. After all, they missed the good opportunity of testing, and now they are only testing for them alone. Master, what did you say you sensed just now? Xiao Yan also wondered. On the small road where he got off the ferry, he felt an eerie aura. If it wasn't for the reminder from his master, the Golden Dragon King, Xiao Yan wouldn't have found it. That thing, if I guessed correctly, the breath should be unique to the creatures in the ghost world. We will turn it into a ghost. The Golden Dragon King also said indifferently. Ghost energy? Xiao Yan also said in surprise. Obviously he was quite puzzled when he heard this title for the first link to time www.novelmtl.com. The so-called ghost chi is the same as the energy in you, but it is called fighting chi in you. However, this ghost energy is extremely eerie and strange. Once it is invaded into the body, it will affect the mind if it is serious. The Golden Dragon King also explained. Hearing this, Xiao Yan was also suddenly enlightened. How come the ghosts of this ghost world are here in Zon Santian, and will the population they use have something to do with them? Xiao Yan also muttered to himself. Hey, these are not your worries. What you have to do now is to join the Burning Incense Pavilion through selection after the test. As for the missing matter, Wu Zhang will naturally handle it. But you have to be careful yourself. After all, the ghosts of the ghost world will appear here, and there must be some conspiracy from them. Yeah, Xiao Yan also responded. What's wrong? Yu Ru also watched Xiao Yan laugh and frown for a while, but the second monk was really confused, so he asked aloud. It's fine. Xiao Yan was also afraid of being discovered, and tried his best to cover it up. Lu Yin on the side and Xiao Han on her shoulders were also looking around. Apparently it was this strange place that made them feel quite fresh. A few other people followed Mo Chen without saying a word. As the footsteps got closer, a rather luxurious house appeared in front of everyone. It's here, come in. Mo Chen also said to everyone with a smile. Everyone also walked into the luxurious house one after another. As soon as I entered the luxurious room, I didn't see the many gold and silver treasures I imagined. There were just many crystal asterisk and some I didn't know what they were, but at a glance I knew they were tools for detection. Set a small goal first, such as 1 second to remember. Shukju mobile version reading website. Continuing from the previous episode 158. The 9 people came to the house one after another, and then their tense nerves relaxed a little. After all, they had also met the chief executive just now. Since entering the room, Mo Chen has also carefully observed the movements of several people. After all, according to what the general manager of Wuzhang said, from the moment they got off the ferry, everything they did here was related to the test results. A person's future achievements and talents must be related to many factors such as his behavior and behavior. Mo Chen first paid attention to Murray with an impatient look on his face. He casually looked at the crystal asterisk and furnishings in the room, and then cursed at something. Immediately afterwards, there was the living dead ginseng deficiency, which still looked pale. When he entered the room, he didn't look at it much. Instead, he covered his mouth with a piece of gauze, and some dark blood was coughed out. Then, with Mo Chen's vicious eyes, he also discovered that Muller and Shen Shu seemed to be just as out of place as the others. Of course, Mo Chen didn't interfere too much. After all, this is their own business, and they are also paying attention to several other people. The next person who came in was a woman with the appearance of a small beast standing on her shoulder. The small beast on her shoulder was also chirping, exuding an invisible cold air, which made the temperature in the entire room suddenly rise. Drop. Xiao Han, don't be fooled. Lu Yin also said sharply to Xiao Han on his shoulder, and then stroked the latter's feathers with one hand, which is strange to say. A blue light on Xiao Han's body melted away, and the severe cold in the room also disappeared. Then Lu Yin also looked around the room like a curious baby. As for the demon charm, it also exudes a seductive aura and is stable. Now in the room, a pair of eyes glowing with autumn water is also slowly turning. Although this is definitely related to the practice of his practice, it is because Mo Chen's concentration is also control. He couldn't stop, so he quickly turned his eyes away. Wang Zhang and Sun Ming, a martial idiot and a sword idiot, naturally wouldn't go to investigate the house. As for Yueru, Feng Yi and Xiao Yan, their eyes never left Mo Chen's body from the very beginning, and Mo Chen also felt that these three were obviously highly educated. Then he nodded in relief, as if he had some ideas. This is where we store the instruments used for the test. The test is divided into 4 parts. The first part is the strength test, the second part is the soul strength test, the third part is the physical fitness test, and the fourth part is the according to the above 3 test data. The talents of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are comprehensively given. Xinyan 81 Zhang Wei and Wang Yu, Kai 8.1 ZS, Ko M, the previous people have all been tested, and now the people in our stronghold are less than a few of you who haven't tested yet. After all the tests are completed, the talent points of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 will be announced uniformly. As for the so-called trials, it's based on your test results, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 talents. Mo Chen also said slowly, so as to give them some time to react. When everyone heard the words, it was also suddenly clear that the so-called test consists of 3 parts, one's own strength and soul strength plus the test of physical strength, then the 5th level talent in the 4th part is the responsibility of their responsible person. So which of you will come first? Mo Chen also gave a brief introduction and then said, "Everything is difficult at the beginning, let me come first." Sun Ming also grinned, obviously not a little worried about this so-called test. After all, although his soul strength is weaker, he has strength and physical strength. It is a great advantage, and Sun Ming is also confident. Among the 9 people in the test, there will be no one whose physical strength exceeds his own. Okay, come on, just pour your vindictive energy into the crystal ball. Mo Chen was relieved to hear that, and then took out a gorgeous crystal ball. Sun Ming strode forward, and then the breath in his body increased to the limit, the muscles on his body also swelled, and the blue veins burst out. A trace of grudge separated from Sun Ming's body, uncontrollably, and then went towards the crystal ball in Mo Chen's hand. Samsung Do D's peak. Mo Chen felt the light overflowing from the crystal ball, and then said. Hearing this, everyone was not surprised. After all, before entering the ruins, Sun Ming already possessed the strength of the late Samsung Do D. Next, Mo Chen also said after registering. The next few people followed Sun Ming's method and injected them into the crystal ball in exactly the same way. Wang Zheng, the late Samsung Do D. Demon Charm, the pinnacle of Samsung Do D. Feng Yi, the pinnacle of Samsung Do D. Muller, the late Samsung Do D. The living dead are Ginseng, the peak of the 3-star fighting emperor. Feng Yi, the pinnacle of Samsung Do D. Yueru, the late Samsung Do D. Xiao Yan, the pinnacle of Samsung Do D. After simply registering the strength levels of the 9 people, Mo Chen is also preparing to start the second part of the test. But in the first part of the test of strength just now, Mo Chen discovered some of the secrets of these 9 people. For example, Wang Zheng, although only the strength of the late Samsung Do Emperor, but the sharp eyes and the giant sword behind him, if there is no sword energy, is slowly diffused, although even the strength of this 3-star Do Emperor in the late stage, ordinary people do not dare to underestimate. Next is Fenji, a woman in a colorful link to skirt www.novelmtl.com, a woman with 2 attributes of wind and thunder. As we all know, there is only one kind of attribute in a normal person. First, it is for the convenience of cultivation. Otherwise, there are too many attributes, and the reason is that the art is not overwhelming. On the other hand, there is one kind of attribute and another kind of attribute. In between, it is extremely difficult to control, let alone cultivate to this level. It is unexpected that this seemingly silent woman in a colorful skirt is so powerful. Followed by a woman named Yueru with a faint smile, Mo Chen felt that there was something familiar in the aura when she was emitting aura. She seemed to have seen it somewhere before and thought about it carefully. This seems to be the aura of the sect master of a certain sect in Xuanshan 3 days, but I don't know why this woman also has the same aura. Next is Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan gave him the feeling that it was unfathomable, even with Mo Chen's initial strength of the 4-star Do Emperor, he couldn't find out why. Although Mo Chen's strength is not a frontal battle, but the technique of manipulating puppets. The strength of the few people around Xiao Yan has also made great progress, and he is quite surprised. Obviously, they all have some strange adventures in the ruins, otherwise it is impossible to advance in a short period of time, but Xiao Yan also did not worried, because now his soul power has recovered to the peak, not to mention that the avatar of the Emperor's ordinary soul entity and the avatar of the fighting technique, together with the many means of the Lotus of Destruction and the Golden Demon Puppet, are also have enough confidence to stand out in this trial. The second part is the soul test. Mo Chen also said, ask for a monthly pass at the beginning of the month. End of this chapter, continuing from the previous episode 159. This second part of the soul test is also very simple. As long as you stimulate the soul power in your soul realm, this instrument will automatically recognize its level. Soul strength is divided from 1 to 10, 1 is the lowest and 10 is the highest. Come on. After Mo Chen finished speaking, the lights in the room suddenly went out, and an extra radiant bead appeared in his hand. Good guy. It's actually sucking the spirit beads. Lu Yin also said when she saw the beads in Mo Chen's hand. What is a spirit bead? Xiao Yan also asked. The so-called Ling Lingzu is an item specially used by some sects to test the talents of their disciples. It is said that this bead is very valuable. And on our Dou-Di continent, as long as everyone has Dou-Qi since birth, even if they haven't specially cultivated soul power, they will have some soul power. It's just that the strength and weakness of this soul force vary from person to person, and it's hard for ordinary people to find out. Yu Ru also said, when he was on the Dou-Qi continent, Xiao Yan only knew that the soul levels of their pharmacists were mortal realm, spirit realm, heaven realm, and emperor realm. Each realm is divided into 3 subgrades: early stage, middle stage, and great perfection. Spiritual realm, the 8th grade pills can be made in the heaven, the 9th grade pills can be made in the heavenly realm, and the emperor grade pills can be made in the emperor realm. After thinking about it, Xiao Yan also came to Mo Chen, and just wanted to test it, but unexpectedly Wang Zhang and several people suddenly appeared in front of him, and then moved their eyes sharply at Xiao Yan, as if to signal something. Xiao Yan nodded knowingly upon seeing this, so he had no choice but to do it. Wang Zhang, the soul power is 4. Mo Chen also said softly. Compared to Wang Zhang, he was not surprised at all. After all, the power of the soul is something intangible and illusory. He is more willing to spend more time practicing swordsmanship than the sword behind him. Sun Ming, soul power is 3. Mo Chen also spoke slowly. He, you old reckless man, your soul power is actually so much weaker than mine? Wang Zhang said to Sun Ming with satisfaction. Soul power is not suitable for me, but it's the most suitable for me. Sun Ming also grinned, not at all displeased by Wang Zhang's taunting. And even though your soul strength is 4, you seem to be stronger than me. Why don't we go out and fight once? Sun Ming also smiled honestly. Wang Zhangwen also hurriedly shut up when he heard the words. Although he was a sword idiot, he didn't want to fight Sun Ming, because when they were still in the 7 major cities, the two often fought each other, so they were familiar with each other. The bloodline of a warrior is no joke. Even though he has mastered some knacks of sword intent, Wang Zhang doesn't care about the physical damage he suffers when he fights. Muller, the soul power is 5. Shen Shu, the soul power is 5. Monster, soul power is 6. Lu Yin, soul power is 6. Feng Yi, the soul power is 7. Yu Eru, the soul power is 7. Mo Chen looked at the people in front of him and shook his head. Although it is good that the soul power is 7, but to win the name of the best 5th-class talent, obviously the soul power is the most important here, and the least is also necessary. Only a soul power of 8 is possible. So he looked helplessly at the 8 people in front of him. Xiao Yan looked at himself slightly. Even if Feng Yi and Yu Ru were only rated as 7 in terms of the power of their Emperor Realm souls, then if he was fully calculated, maybe 8 would be the limit, but it is useless to think so much now. Then go up one step ahead, looking at Mo Chen. Senior brother Mo, I haven't tested it yet. Xiao Yan also spoke out as if he noticed that Mo Chen's eyes suddenly dimmed, with an absent-minded look. Oh, look at how impatient I am. I remembered it wrong. I thought the test was over, ha ha ha. Mo Chen was also laughing. Outstanding people, the resources they can get will be very rich, but they can't be treated differently just because they are mediocre talents, otherwise they will be known by the people above, but they have violated Zan Santian's taboo. Come on, just follow the way they were before. Speaking of which, Xiao Yan also closed his eyes and calmed down, and then communicated the power in his soul realm to move towards the suction bead in Mo Chen's hand. In the dark room, with the appearance of Xiao Yan's soul power, it instantly became brighter. Mo Chen was also shocked by the sudden and huge soul power, and then changed his lazy state just now and carefully stared at the suction bead in his hand. HMPH, pretending to be mysterious. Muller was also very unhappy with Xiao Yan's actions. After all, he was defeated by Xiao Yan in the ruins before, and then his father went to Yu's house to arrest Xiao Yan, and was given a great gift by Xiao Yan. Therefore, he was extremely resentful towards Xiao Yan. This kid. Why do you feel that your soul power has improved a bit? Wang Zhang also said, it is obvious that the soul power that Xiao Yan has released now is stronger than when he was in Qingcheng and the ruins. I heard that in addition to his powerful soul, Xiao Yan is also a first-grade emperor alchemist? Feng Yi was obviously surprised. She had heard this before, but she didn't take it to heart after all. A pharmacist, the most basic three conditions for refining medicine: materials, fire, and soul perception. Xiao Yan owns the materials and fire, but as for soul power, Feng Yi will definitely not believe it. Just looking at it at this time, Feng Yi also frowned slightly. Obviously, this countless evidence shows that this Xiao Yan is very likely to be a first-rank emperor alchemist. Even if he can reach the first emperor rank at a young age, his future achievements are also limitless. Feng Yi also covered her surprised lips, and then looked at Xiao Yan beside her, as if she had made a decision in her heart. I wonder how much Xiao Yan can achieve this time? Sun Ming also said curiously. According to my speculation, since Feng Yi is the soul of the emperor, Xiao Yan's soul power is too much stronger than hers, so it is not surprising to evaluate it as 8. Yao Mei also played with her fingers and then put on a temptation. Human arc. Is it an 8? It's really amazing. It is worthy of being a pharmacist of the first rank of the emperor. Several people were also constantly chatting. Mo Chen stared at the spirit-absorbing orb in his link to www.novelmtl.com and suddenly found that the spirit-absorbing orb began to change. Unlike others who were slow, this time it was changing rapidly. 8. A striking number appeared on the suction bead. Sure enough, said several people who had already completed the test. When Xiao Yan heard this, he was also gathering in the spirit-absorbing orb, devoting all the soul power in his body. Seeing this, Mo Chen didn't have time to rejoice when he saw the spirit-absorbing bead in his hand beating slowly, and then everyone saw Mo Chen's eyes staring at the spirit-absorbing bead. 9. It's actually 9. Mo Chen also shouted with joy. It's not over yet, Yueru said with sharp eyes. Xiao Yan, whose eyes were tightly closed, had previously mobilized all the soul power in the soul realm in his body to irrigate the spirit beads, but now he is powerless to open his eyes. Hearing Mo Chen's words, Xiao Yan also nodded in satisfaction, and just about to open his eyes, he was shocked by a force in his body. Because he suddenly discovered that in the deep part of his body, in the place of Nigungwen, a force also gathered crazily towards the spirit-absorbing orb. Xinya 81 Zhang Weian Wang Wu, Kai 8, approximately 1 ZS, Koam and Mo Chen, who was overjoyed, obviously did not find this power. However, just when that power was injected into the spirit-absorbing orb, the original 9 on the spirit-absorbing orb suddenly changed to 10. Ask for a monthly pass for a recommendation. End of this chapter.